Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. When the news dropped that Jonnu Smith was heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers, it sent shockwaves through the NFL world. I mean, come on, this wasn't just any trade. It involved big names, Jalen Ramsey, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and yes, the newly re-energized Jonnu Smith. And let's not forget the other major headline. Aaron Rodgers is now rocking the black and gold. Talk about seismic. Now, Steelers fans have been begging for a spark, a jolt to push them out of their recent playoff drought. And it feels like they've finally got one. Smith isn't just some throw-in piece. This guy had a breakout year in Miami, career highs in receptions, yardage, and touchdowns. He's coming to Pittsburgh not as a role player, but as a focal point. The city that breathes football might just have its next gridiron hero. Jonnu isn't running from the pressure, he's sprinting toward it. Now let's talk about that hype video, because it deserves a moment of its own, straight from Smith's Instagram. This clip felt like a mini movie. You had shots of Acrisure Stadium, waves of terrible towels, and a soundtrack that gave you goosebumps. This is the best news for Pittsburgh Steelers fans, the voice declared, and honestly, it might just be. The whole video was soaked in nostalgia and hope. Headlines flew across the screen like confetti, mixed with highlights of Jonnu bulldozing defenders and catching tight window throws. You could tell this wasn't just a flex, it was a statement. Smith is saying loud and clear, "I'm here, I'm ready, let's work." That's the kind of energy that can ignite a locker room for fans. It's a signal that this isn't just a team going through motions anymore. It's a team making bold moves, building something real, and refusing to settle for mediocrity. But it's Jonnu's words that really stuck with people. Any true competitor should never be able to say "I made it," he said in the video. Let that sink in. This is a man coming off the best season of his career, and he's still hungry. He's not satisfied with personal accolades or flashy numbers. He wants more. He wants wins. He wants rings. And that mindset, that's championship DNA. That's the kind of attitude Mike Tomlin dreams of in a locker room. Smith talked about filling the voids in his game, about always grinding, always evolving. It's the mentality of a worker, not a diva, a grinder, not a glory hound. For a city like Pittsburgh, where blue-collar toughness is worn like a badge, Smith's mindset couldn't be a better fit. He's not just saying the right things, he's living them. And in a sport where mentality often separates contenders from pretenders, that makes all the difference. Smith's numbers in 2024 weren't just solid, they were eye-popping. We're talking 88 receptions, 884 yards, and 8 touchdowns. All either career highs or tied. That's Pro Bowl production, no matter how you slice it. And yet, somehow, the Dolphins didn't value him enough to give him the extension he clearly deserved. At just over $4 million for this season, Jonnu was wildly underpaid, so he held out of minicamp, sent a message, and made his stance clear. Miami had a choice, pony up or move on. They chose the latter, and Pittsburgh saw an opportunity. They didn't hesitate. Now the Dolphins lose a top-tier tight end, and the Steelers gain one with something to prove. It's a classic revenge tour setup, a player disrespected, doubted, and now unleashed. If that doesn't motivate a guy like Smith, nothing will, and trust me, Pittsburgh fans are going to love watching him go to work. The reunion with Arthur Smith might be the most underrated part of this whole deal. These to have history, real chemistry, back in Tennessee. Arthur Smith was the tight ends coach and eventually offensive coordinator, and Jonnu flourished under him. He knows how to use Smith's unique skill set, his blocking ability, his yards after catch talent, and his mismatch potential against linebackers. They also spent time together in Atlanta during Jonnu's short stint with the Falcons. So there's trust already built in. That kind of familiarity matters in a new city with a new quarterback and system. Having a coach who already knows your strengths can accelerate everything. Don't be surprised if Arthur designs this offense with Jonnu as a centerpiece. Not just a check-down option, but a go-to guy in big moments. The Steelers aren't just plugging in a name, they're adding a weapon that's already been tested and proven under the same playbook. And speaking of weapons, the Steelers' offense is going to look a lot different this season. With George Pickens now gone, the receiving corps is thin. But that's where the 12 personnel comes into play, to tight ends on the field. Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth create serious matchup nightmares. Freiermuth is already a fan favorite, a bruiser with great hands. Pairing him with a more athletic, dynamic threat like Smith gives Aaron Rodgers options. Lots of them. You want to stack the box against Najee Harris. Fine, that leaves one of the tight ends in a favorable matchup. You want to sit back in zone. Good luck covering both tight ends and Rodgers' deep ball threat. Pittsburgh may not have the flashiest group of wideouts, but with creative schemes, they could be deceptively dangerous. And you better believe Rodgers is licking his chops thinking about what he can do. With two elite tight ends, Aaron Rodgers coming to Pittsburgh felt surreal at first. Now, it's starting to feel real. He's got something to prove again. After all the drama in Green Bay and a shortened stint with the Jets, he's got one more shot to define his legacy. And who better to help him than a tight end who's got that same chip on his shoulder? The Rodgers-Smith connection might just be electric. Jonnu's quick bursts, ability to break tackles, and skill in the red zone are tailor-made for a quarterback who thrives on timing and precision. If they click early, look out. Defenses will have to pick their poison, pressure Rodgers or cover Smith and Freiermuth. Either way, someone's getting burned. This isn't just about adding talent, it's about building chemistry. And from everything we've seen, from the trade to the video to the locker room buzz, this partnership might be the surprise duo of the year. Let's zoom out for a second. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. That's 8 long years of frustration for one of the NFL's most storied franchises. But change is in the air. With Rodgers at QB, Arthur Smith calling plays, and Jonnu Smith joining the fray, Pittsburgh has reshaped its identity overnight. They're no longer clinging to nostalgia or hoping for a breakout. They're making aggressive moves, taking risks, and aiming high. That's the kind of energy fans have been craving. No more next year promises. No more mediocrity. This team wants to win now, and Jonnu Smith, he's the perfect embodiment of that mindset. Underappreciated, undervalued, and ready to explode. The Steelers didn't just get a player, they got a mindset shift. And in the AFC North, where every inch matters, that attitude could be what separates them from the rest. Of course, this won't be easy. The AFC is stacked. The Bengals are dangerous. The Ravens are always a threat, and the Browns have a defense that can punch you in the mouth. But this Steelers team, for the first time in years, has the tools to fight back, and not just survive, but contend. Smith's arrival adds toughness, versatility, and a sense of urgency. He's not just another free agent hoping to fit in. He's bringing leadership, passion, and fire. That's infectious. Young guys in the locker room will feed off that energy. Veterans will respect it, and Rodgers, he'll thrive with it. So, yeah, this trade may have looked like a simple swap on paper, but don't be fooled. It's a culture shift, a spark, a rallying cry, and Jonnu Smith, he's not just ready for the moment. He's demanding it. Pittsburgh might finally have its edge back. As the season creeps closer, one thing's clear. Jonnu Smith has something to say, and he's going to say it with his pads. That hype video was just the beginning. His real statement will come on third downs, red zone plays, and in the grinded-out moments that define a football season. And in Pittsburgh, that kind of grit is golden. Fans want to see heart. They want fight. And with Smith, they're getting both. There's a reason that video ended with the word blessed. Smith knows where he's been, and he knows where he's going. From Miami's contract table to Pittsburgh's prime time lights, he's writing a new chapter. One that could turn him from Pro Bowler to legend, and honestly, it feels like the start of something special, not just for Jonnu Smith, not just for Rodgers, but for a Steelers team that's finally ready to punch back. Buckle up, Steelers Nation. This season's about to get wild. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments, what's your take on the Fins this week? Absolutely shocking news seems to be brewing in the NFL world. And if this rumor turns out to be true, it could reshape the landscape of the entire league. The Miami Dolphins are reportedly involved in one of the most daring and head-scratching trades we've seen in recent years. According to insiders and whispers coming from inside the organization, the Dolphins are finalizing a blockbuster deal to acquire none other than Derrick Henry, the bruising powerhouse of a running back. But what makes this even more jaw-dropping is the rumored price Miami is willing to pay in this potential trade. The Dolphins would be parting ways with two high-profile names, quarterback Zach Wilson and superstar wide receiver Tyreek Hill. Yes, you heard that right, Tyreek the Cheetah Hill. The same Tyreek Hill who has been the face of the Dolphins' offense since his arrival is reportedly on his way out, in exchange for a ground-and-pound revolution in South Beach. Now, let's be real, Zach Wilson wasn't even expected to be in the mix as a long-term starter for Miami. He arrived in South Florida after a rocky start with the New York Jets and was seen as more of a reclamation project, possibly a reliable backup or an insurance policy. But now, he's being used as a key piece in this trade puzzle, and Tyreek Hill, that's a name that still turns heads in any stadium. Trading away arguably the most explosive wide receiver in the league seems unthinkable on the surface, yet the Dolphins may be banking on a philosophy shift, moving away from speed-dominated aerial attacks and toward a physically dominant ground game. Centered around Derrick Henry, it's a massive gamble trading away flash and finesse for raw power and control. The question is, why now? What's pushing Miami to even entertain such a polarizing move? Let's dig into the why. Rumor has it head coach Mike McDaniel has been quietly pushing for a more balanced offense, perhaps even one that leans heavily on the run, while he's been lauded for crafting a lightning-fast, pass-happy unit. There's growing concern within the Dolphins front office that their current approach isn't built for playoff football. When the weather gets colder and the games get tougher, speed doesn't always dominate, physicality does, and no one embodies physicality like Derrick Henry. The Tennessee Titans bruiser has made a career out of trampling over defenses, especially in December and January. Word around the league is that McDaniel believes Henry could be the missing ingredient that transforms Miami from playoff pretenders into true championship contenders, but still trading away Hill, even with Wilson as a throw-in, raises eyebrows and blood pressures alike. Could this really be the right direction? Of course. Let's not forget the contractual elements involved. Tyreek Hill isn't just a game-changing player, he's also carrying a hefty contract, with cap space becoming tighter and tougher to navigate. Some insiders suggest the Dolphins see this as an opportunity to gain future flexibility. Unloading Hill's salary, along with Zach Wilson's modest deal, could give Miami the space it needs to make additional roster moves, or even prepare for a big quarterback investment in the near future. Derrick Henry, while not cheap, is seen as a short-term financial commitment compared to the long-term obligations tied to Hill. That's got people wondering, is this move really about Henry, or is it a stepping stone to something bigger? Could the Dolphins be clearing the decks for a quarterback move in 2025? The rumor mill is churning fast, and nobody's denying that something huge is going on behind the scenes. Another aspect that's fueling this storm of speculation is the reported locker room dynamics. Sources close to the Dolphins say that while Tyreek Hill has been electric on the field, he's not always been the easiest personality to manage behind closed doors. He's confident, borderline brash, and sometimes that rubs teammates and coaches the wrong way. Meanwhile, McDaniel is known for his culture-focused approach. Could there be tension brewing between Hill and the coaching staff that's led to this shocking decision? If there's even a kernel of truth to that, it could explain why the team is willing to part with their most marketable star. It's not the first time a locker room clash has resulted in a seismic trade, and it definitely won't be the last. The NFL is as much about chemistry as it is talent, and sometimes subtraction becomes addition in the strangest ways. From the Titans' perspective, this trade is equally fascinating. Tennessee has been in something of a rebuild or retooling phase, and trading away Derrick Henry has been whispered about for over a year now. But getting Tyreek Hill and Zach Wilson in return, that would be a massive shift in philosophy. It suggests Tennessee is done grinding games out on the ground and is instead ready to open up the playbook. For a speed-based offense, Wilson would likely be a backup or at best a competition piece. But Hill immediately becomes the centerpiece of the Titans' new identity. It's a bold direction for a franchise that has long prided itself on old-school football. Are the Titans trying to keep up with the likes of Kansas City and Cincinnati? Or are they just seizing a golden opportunity to reload with elite talent? Either way, it's clear both teams would be rolling the dice with enormous stakes. Fans, of course, are absolutely divided over this. Dolphins faithful are scratching their heads, some even outraged at the thought of losing Hill. Social media has exploded with takes, some praising the move as genius, others condemning it as a disaster waiting to happen. Why trade the fastest man in football? One fan tweeted, "Henry is a beast. But this isn't 2019 anymore," wrote another. Meanwhile, Titans fans are cautiously optimistic. Many have long appreciated Henry's contributions, but also recognize the limitations of a run-heavy offense in today's NFL. "If we get Tyreek, that's a win," posted a Titans fan on Reddit. The NFL community loves drama, and this rumor has delivered it in spades. One thing's for certain, this potential trade has become the most talked about topic of the off-season, and it's not even official yet, The anticipation is electric. And what about Tua Tagovailoa? That's another layer to this unfolding drama. If Tyreek Hill is traded, Tua loses his most dangerous weapon, his go-to guy, the man who's helped elevate his game to new heights. That could have major implications not just for the offense's success, but for Tua's future in Miami. Losing Hill could expose Tua in ways we haven't seen before. On the flip side, adding Derrick Henry could take the pressure off Tua, allowing him to operate in a more play-action-heavy scheme. But make no mistake, this trade would put Tua squarely under the microscope. No more excuses. No more elite receivers bailing him out. It would be sink or swim time for the Dolphins quarterback. And everyone knows the Miami media doesn't hold back. If this trade goes through, Tua might be the one with the most to prove heading into the 2025 season. Even Derrick Henry himself has stayed suspiciously quiet. No cryptic tweets, no interviews, no public appearances. That silence is only adding fuel to the speculation fire. Usually, when a player hears his name swirling in the trade vortex, he at least issues a denial or throws out a vague emoji. Not Henry. And some believe that's telling. Perhaps he's already aware. Perhaps this trade has been brewing for weeks, behind closed doors, and all sides are just waiting for the right moment to make it official. Others believe it's all smoke and mirrors, a leverage ploy by agents or front offices to stir movement in the market. Still, the longer Henry stays silent, the more people believe something major is happening. His move to Miami, if real, would be one of the most talked about transfers in Dolphins history, possibly rivaling Ricky Williams or even Dan Marino's final years in terms of impact. As the days go by and the chatter grows louder, one truth remains: this is the kind of move that could define legacies. For Mike McDaniel, it's a statement of identity. For the Dolphins front office, it's a test of vision versus emotion. For the Titans, it's a leap into a new era. And for fans, it's a whirlwind of hope, fear, and curiosity. Whether this trade becomes reality or dies in the rumor mill, it has already done what the NFL does best: capture our imagination. The idea of Derrick Henry in teal and orange, punishing defenses in Hard Rock Stadium, is both thrilling and bewildering. And if Hill and Wilson truly are headed out the door, then this isn't just a trade, it's a transformation. Buckle up, folks. The NFL offseason just dropped its biggest bombshell yet, and we're all just waiting to see where the dust finally settles. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.